Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about what happens when you go to a psych ward. I've been to several, unfortunately. So I can pretty much say with pretty good confidence that as long as you're in the United States, that this is how it's going to go down, and this is what's going to happen. Okay, first of all, how do you get there? Okay, you can call 911 and tell them you're, or you can call 911 and tell them, they need to come get you. What happens is cops will show up, and they're usually very nice, but this isn't their field of work. They're not social workers, they're not counselors, so they can sometimes be abrasive, and they can sometimes be like not understanding or just kind of over it. I don't know how many calls like this they get, but I know it's a lot. And it's just a thing where they got to show up and take the person down to the hospital. I mean, it's probably a BS call to them. You know what I mean? It's something they don't really want to do. But a lot of them are really nice for the most part. Even the ones that, obviously don't want to be doing that right then, they're still nice. What they're going to do is basically go through all the steps of patting you down, making sure you don't have anything on you that could hurt you or them. And because they're cops, they're going to put you in handcuffs, probably behind your back, and they're going to put you in the back of the car. And usually the police route, they're going to take you to the main public hospital. Okay, there's private hospitals and there's public hospitals. Public hospitals are publicly funded, they're county hospitals, and they're always worse. That's where they're going to take you. I've even requested to be taken to a certain hospital, and they wouldn't do it. They just take you where they gotta take you. So they're gonna take you down to the county hospital. You'll go into the emergency room. I'm trying to think how you went in there. If it's cops, they just walk you in. Sometimes the ambulance will show up, and that's always better. They kind of pass you off onto the ambulance. Say if something actually happened, like you call 911 and you say, I just took a bunch of pills, or something like that would require medical attention, then they're going to send the ambulance. The ambulance is always better because they're more of like trying to take care of you, right? And they're going to take you directly through the back of the hospital to the emergency room and directly into a triage room. With the cops, a lot of times they'll just take you into the emergency room in the front. And basically, they just tell the receptionist, or you reiterate to the receptionist that, your SUI, and then most likely, almost immediately, they'll put you in a triage room. safe and not sitting in a waiting room. For liability reasons, obviously. So, you're going to go in that triage room, just a regular emergency room, with the exception, actually it's not regular, it's psych triage. Most likely you're going to be in a room where the furniture is going to be a little bit different, and this will be a constant on any place you go that's psych. The chairs will be like filled. They'll be like plastic, like molded plastic, soft though on the outside, and they'll be filled with sand, so you can't pick them up and throw them. So that's how you immediately know that you're in a psych triage room, because of the chairs. They're not normal chairs, and you'll recognize them within, the first time you've gone there and you've been through it. You'll immediately recognize it. But they'll take you into a psych triage room, and most likely they'll immediately put you into scrubs because you're going to be admitted. Just saying your SUI, that's like, I think at least a 24-hour hold, but you're not going anywhere. As soon as you say those words, you're not going anywhere. They'll put you in scrubs immediately, put your regular clothes in some sort of patient belongings bag. They'll have you pee in a cup, take a drug test almost immediately. If you don't pass that, it really doesn't matter. They don't care if you're a drug addict or whatever. The only reason they're doing that is obviously for the history for the doctor. He knows what he's dealing with, but most of the time, all the time, it's just because they want to know what's in your system. Because, can they give you Ativan or not because of what's in your system? They need to know what you're already on. So there's no judgment there. I've never failed them because I don't take drugs. I don't even drink. I used to be a pretty bad alcoholic, but I stopped drinking 5 years ago. So then after that, you're just going to lay in that triage room for a pretty long time, depending on how busy the doctor is. That's a typical way if you've ever been to the ER, but you're not getting out of there today or anytime soon. The doctor will come in, and it's a medical doctor, so they're not psychiatrists. They'll just basically talk to you, and you'll reiterate that you're SUI. And in my experience, they're going to send you to a psych ward, because you're at the emergency room. You're not at a psych ward. Sometimes in hospitals, especially private ones, they have actual psych wards on an entire floor of the hospital. So one entire floor of the hospital is a psych ward. But that really doesn't matter because it all depends on if they have a bed or not. If there's an opening, then great. You're already there. There's an opening. They'll put you in a wheelchair and they'll send you to the hospital psych ward. Chances of that happening probably aren't that great. So basically what they're going to do, at some point you're going to talk to a psychiatrist. Whether it's, probably it's going to be virtual, like they'll wheel in some sort of like little tablet and you'll talk to a psychiatrist. You'll tell them that you're SUI, he or she will talk to you about various things, and basically they admit you. I've been there for an entire day and a half, just sleep in that bed. They bring you food. At private hospitals, they'll give you Ativan, to keep you calm. Public hospitals, they ain't gonna give you shit. Maybe, because the psychiatrist you talk to, like, they're not gonna prescribe anything for you just from that virtual consultation. So anything you get when you're in the ER is going to come from that medical doctor, that on-site medical doctor. So anyways, private hospitals, always better, always. They'll give you Ativan, they'll give you whatever, as long as they can. And so it can be really cool. If you're depressed, if you've ever been clinically depressed, you have clinical depression, you know what I'm talking about when I say that you can sleep for a very long time. You can literally sleep 12 hours, get up, and go back to sleep for another 12 hours. Because you're depressed, and that's part of depression. You'll sleep constantly. You know what I'm saying? There's been times in psych wards where I didn't get out of bed for a solid week. They threatened me with putting a feeding tube down my throat if I didn't eat. And it's not like I'm on some sort of hunger strike or something. It doesn't matter, right? Like, hunger is one of the basic, strongest human habits we have, or the word I'm looking for. But it's, people fasting for religion, whatever it is, hunger's a big deal. Like, it takes effort, right, to not eat for a significant amount of time. When you're depressed, it takes zero effort. You could probably literally die from starvation and never be hungry. For some reason, extreme clinical depression shuts down these basic instincts. Like, it's so strong that it will shut down your strongest instincts. You won't be hungry. You won't be thirsty, and it won't be hard not to eat. Okay, going from there, let's see. They find you a psych ward that accepts you, and you wait. And then some ambulance people, basically medical transport, come and get you, and they put you on a stretcher, put you in the ambulance. I mean, I've had those ambulance rides be an hour. You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't matter. It can be a half hour, it can be an hour, it probably can be longer. Wherever it is that they found a bed for you, that's where you're going. Once you get there, they'll take you off the stretcher, and it's paperwork time. And this is a pain in the ass, especially when you really haven't been sleeping, or you have, but you're still tired. You want your bed, you want your, forever, not your forever bed, but like, your bed that you're going to be in, not like a little triage cot, right? They're uncomfortable. But you got to do all this crap. You got to fill out the paperwork, and then they'll take you to the back, where basically they'll give you more scrubs. They'll do a body, a skin assessment. Basically, you're going to have to take off all your clothes. You can leave your underwear on, and obviously if it's a woman, there's not going to be men in there, but they're going to jot down your tattoos, the scars, stuff like that. So basically they can say, well, he had that scar when he came in, he didn't do something to himself while he was here. They want to see all your scars, all your tattoos, any kind of self-harm locations. They'll put you in their scrubs. They will finally show you to your room. This process can be a long time. Okay, it depends on how many people they got going on. If it's a Wednesday, then it's probably not going to be that long. If it's the weekend, especially at night, it could be a long time just waiting, for various things. They finally show you to your bed, and it's always a double occupancy room with a bed that basically, it's not a mattress, it's like a cot, but it's pretty thick. I mean, it feels like a bed. It's going to be like a block on a block that attaches to the floor. They don't want you putting any kind of like noose, right? Or anything, hooking, tying anything up to anything. And that's the way the whole room is. So for instance, your shower head isn't going to be your normal shower head. It's going to be like attached to the wall in such a way where it's like it's fat and it goes down to a point to where you can't put anything around it. The plumbing of the toilet is going to be covered and bolted with like plastic. Like everything, every sharp edge, anything you could possibly tie something around, it's all covered or it's all fitted with some sort of thing that makes it impossible to do that. It's always double occupancy. You're going to go in there with just some rando. Probably going to be laying down in bed. And basically, that's the beginning of your psych ward stay. They're usually anywhere from 7 to 10 days. If you're really bad and doing things that make you stay longer, for instance, not eating, not taking your medication, that's a big one. You'll stay there for freaking ever if you're not taking your medication. Not taking your medication, not eating, that's pretty much it. It's pretty standard, 7 or 10 days, especially if you don't have insurance. But even with insurance, they're going to get you out of there, even if you're sick as hell. Schizophrenics and stuff like this, they're not better. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to be better, to where they're not talking to themselves. But I've seen people the entire time they've stayed in bed, barely ate. They don't talk to anybody. They don't do anything but lay in bed. Obviously, they're extremely depressed, and they still get discharged in probably 10 days. But for the most part, it's a good faith effort to try and make you better. And every time I went into the hospital, I felt better when I left than when I went in. But of course, I want to get better. I don't want to feel like shit. And I make an effort to, take the medication and sometimes go to these, meetings they have. So basically during your day, right, you're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there's going to be structured activities the entire time. What these activities are basically classes. They call them groups. So you're going to have group time. They're going to tell you that you have to go to these groups because the doctors will look and see if you've attended by your chart, and they're going to decide whether, how long you stay or whatever. If you want to get out of here faster, you'll go to group. None of that matters. It doesn't matter at all. Like I said, I've seen people discharged who never left their bed. Whatever your doctor has determined from the first time he met you, that's how long you're going to stay. A lot of times it has to do with insurance, how much insurance they can get out of you, but it's usually, like I said, 7 to 10 days. You can go to every group if you want to, or you can go to 0 groups, ever, and you're going to get out of there at the same time. You know, they just want you to go to groups, you know, because they think it helps you. Some people it does help. It does help me sometimes. It's a lot better than just like laying in the bed all the time. And once you're taking medication and you start to feel better, you know, you start wandering out of your room and maybe talking to people and attending groups, and then you start feeling a little bit better because of the medication and maybe some of the groups. And then you start, like, you know, towards the end of the first week, maybe you start making your bed in the morning. You know, you start planning your life outside. What are you going to do when you leave? It's a process, and you start to feel better. And then basically every time it's time to go, people are ready to go, you know. Nobody likes being locked up, even if it's medically. And, you know, because you can't smoke, you can't eat when you want to, you can't do anything, your freedoms are taken away, you're hospitalized. So, this is just a video of the beginning. This is very new. I'm new here on YouTube. Things will get better as I go along. But this is the video explaining what happens when you first get there and a little bit into the first week. All right, take care, guys. Thanks.